Good morning, class. This is Mr. Roberts at Shasta High School, and today I think I'm going to take us in a different direction. I want to look at activities that we can do away from the classroom that are truly more enriching, things that I normally don't have time to do and talk about in the class, and give you just an opportunity to do some different things at home. If you're participating today, the thing I'll be looking for and asking for is an image at the end of the day that you've done. I just ask that your image be original. It's something that you created, and you're going to share your Desmos file with me. So I've pointed my browser to Desmos, and I've used my school account to sign in. You can see, and I haven't saved this project yet. We'll be saving it after a little while. And just to refamiliarize yourself with some of the things in Desmos, this is the area where I'm going to be entering functions, and we'll see things over here. And our goal is to draw some sort of picture. So not only are we going to be using functions, we're going to be shifting those functions around, and we're also going to be restricting the domain on functions. We'll just look at certain parts of it. So let's think about some of the functions and families we know, right? Y equals mx plus b. If I want to play with those, I can actually type mx and then plus b. And when I do that, it gives me the ability to create this slider. So I can kind of work from this point and look at it and say, okay, I want to get maybe this line. So I can see my current value of x maybe, and I can see of m, my slope is -1, and I can see my current value of my y-intercept. And then if I want to, below that, I can go ahead and type in y equals -1x and then plus 5. So it's there. Now, what's nice about me typing that particular function is now I can move this along and I can think about getting a different line. Oops, I didn't want that to be a b. I wanted this to be, it was plus 5. So it'll stay there. So now I can move this around and I can think about a different line and maybe a different element for my picture. And let me see if I can make that fit. That's nice. So the other thing that I can do in addition to just looking at this parent function, right, this basic function, and manipulating it around to get an element for my picture that I want, once I have an element I want, I can restrict the domain. So if you click into a function that you're going to keep and use, if you just come in and do these opening brackets, so on my keyboard this is shift, and it's right above the square brackets, right next to the letter P, so look around, you'll see those. In here we can type a domain restriction, so I can say I want this to be active for this domain, -2, and then I'm going to do less than x, less than, I'll say 3. So what I've done here is I'm saying, look, this function, y equals -x plus 5, is going to be active throughout the domain from x is -2 up until x is +3. So that's the function that's in play right there. And then at that point, I can say, you know what? I want to take this one, and I'm going to move up the y-intercept so that it comes right to there. And I could say to myself, you know, this had a slope of -1. If I want this to be at a right angle, I can make this have a slope of +1. So if I bring those together now I've got me the perfect corner of a square, perhaps, right? I like that. And actually, I think the actual one that I want is going to be -1. No, not +1. -1. There we go. Huh. Well, let's go ahead and grab that as another function. By the way, I'm accidentally entering some things here. I can delete these things that I'm not using. And in this one, we're just going to go ahead and type y equals 1x, or just x, and then -1. So you can see I've got this new function entered. But maybe I want this to only be active from, let's say, x is 2 up until x is 8. So I'm going to say I want this to be active. Again, it's these curly brackets from 2, 8. Whoops, no, I got to do this right. And then x is less than 8. 8, there we go. So it's going to be, as long as x is in the range from 2 to positive 8, right? From 2 to 8. If I want to include those endpoints, by the way, I can say, I can do less than, and then if I type equal right after it, it makes it the less than or equal to, and then I can do the same thing here. That's great, and enter. So again, that's moving along. Now, at this point, I might be done with the linear stuff, or I might want to leave these. These give me the ability to generate other linear shapes if I decide I need them more in my image as I'm proceeding. So I might leave this just up as a tool, y equals mx plus b. The other thing that I could do, though, is I can enter another function family. So if I want to do another function below this, like up in here, I'm just going to press enter. And now I'm going to type in, let's see, another function that we've looked at a lot. We've looked at lines a lot, but also exponential curves, y equals ab raised to the x power. You can see I've already got a slider for b here. So I'm just going to say add a slider for a. And now, if I want, b is a negative, that's a problem. But if I make b a value like, yeah, that's great. So b is my multiplier. So my multiplier is, in that case, 1.4. And I'm starting out at I can start out at the number 3. So you can see I've got now my y equals 1 times 1.4 to the x power, and it's this curve. And I don't know, maybe I want this to be part of a smile or something in the image I'm making. So I'm not the artist, although I am going to be making a couple of these myself, and I'll post them along in a gallery that I'm going to share with the whole class, but with all of your images. But so yeah, I can play with the exponential function family, and it's kind of interesting that, yeah, if a is negative, that initial value, it does open downward like this. The other thing I know is that if b is between 0 and 1, it'll decrease. So right now you can see these are all increasing functions, right? Let's say my initial value is 5. There we go. My initial value is 5. So I'm hitting this point exactly, and I'm just going off this way. But maybe I want the function to decrease instead of increase. Well, one of the things you can do is, if you want to fine-tune b, because you're playing with it for the exponential curve, you can come in here and say, look, right now I just want b to be everything between 1 and, I'll say the number, actually not between 1, I want it to be 0 up to 4. Okay. And then enter. So now I can fine tune this a lot more, because now I'm able to see a lot more of these decimals, because this is only going up to 4. As long as I'm in between this range from 0 to 1, it's going to be decreasing. And as soon as I hit the number 1, well, when I hit the number 0, right, it's completely flat, because anything to the 0 power equals 1. But then when I come here, it begins increasing. So let's just say I want to try and make it hit close to this number 15. I don't know that it's exactly hitting that number, but I want it to be close to it. Another thing I could do, if I want to fine tune that even more, I could say, look, I don't want it to increase at all. I just want it to go from 0 to 1. So now that I know these are all going to be decreasing functions, and I have a lot of fine control over that. So I can come in here and I can say, okay, in my picture, I want this curve from here to here to be preserved, right? So now I'm going to grab an element of this and I'm going to put it in my picture. So let's go ahead and do that and preserve that one piece. So I'm just going to say y equals, my current value of a is 5, so I'm going to say 5 times, my current value of b is 0.416 raised to the x power. So you can see now I'm down on that curve, and I want to restrict the domain on that curve. I want to say that the domain has to be, x values have to be more than 0, so 0 and then x. So the x's are larger than 0, but they're going to be less than 2. And enter. So now if I turn that curve off, you can see now the image that I'm drawing, right, my artwork has this curve right here. So that's a pretty good place to start to think about things. One other way that you can play with the domain. So you can see the domain is from X values are from 0 to 2. You can play with this domain by coming in here and say, look, I want to go the opposite way. I want to use this curve. So I want this to be active as long as x's are less than 0. So I can say if x's are smaller than 0, right? And I think I could use the keyword or. Nope, can't use or. So I'm going to have to use a comma here. If x's are less than 0 or x's are, ooh, that's not what, or x's are more than 2. That's what I wanted. That was funky. I have no idea what was going on there, but this is what should be happening. So now you can see instead of having the chunk of the curve that I had in here, I'm taking the opposite. I'm saying now, as soon as x's become bigger than 0, then turn on that curve, right? What's the curve? Y equals 5 times 4.16 to the x. And if x's are less than it, turn this one on. Yeah, if I want a horizontal line, that's just, for example, right here, if I want a line that's going to connect this point to here, I don't need to play with the line tools up there. I know that that's just going to be y is equal to 3. Nope, that's at 7. Y is equal to 7. And I want y is equal to 7 to work for values of x. So here's x, values of x. When x is sandwiched between -2 and 8. And enter. Okay, it's not BobRoss, right? It's not fabulous artwork, but I've made this. It's mine. If I want to, I think I could turn off the grid also. The grid's helpful for me to see things, but I can also turn off the x-axis and the y-axis and the grid. So when I'm done, all that stuff's gone. I'm left with just this fabulous artwork that's not so fabulous. I'm gonna put a couple images up here of some things that other students have done with this. So when you're finished and you're ready to submit your work, good question. What do you do? First of all, please save it. So if you hit save it, it was just saved as untitled. Fabulous. If I hit untitled graph, I can say not Bob Ross, and I can hit save. And then now that I've saved it in my own personal Desmos account, right, I want to share that with my teacher. So I come over here to the share icon, I click, I hit copy, and then this URL is going to be the thing that I submit. This one little URL I'm just going to submit. So I've got copy. And I will probably just put like a small survey or a poll or something, and or better yet, if you guys just go ahead and comment in the feed today. So as you're working on yours, as soon as you're done, oh no, that's in Teams. I don't think we do that in Google Classroom. I'll figure out a way for you to share that link with me, but that's what I want you to do today. And again, we're just looking at 2 function families. We might talk about another one tomorrow, but right now we're just looking at the linear function family of functions and the exponential one. And I think this is a good way to kind of get the most out of it, to create those functions and then have these sliders where you can get exactly the function you want. And those functions are still there, so I can still come in and I can change. And if I want my linear function to go back to having a bigger domain, right, just click in this, and then you can say, oh, no, I want this now to go to -10 up to +10. Yeah, I think that's a good way. I think I'm excited to see the things that you guys produce today. Okay, so that's it. I feel like this is good because we're actually visiting these family of functions and thinking about everything that's possible with exponential curves. Right there, they are. What's possible with all those curves? Everything that's possible with the linear function family, and then we're grabbing those, and then we're practicing restricting the domain and creating an image. So it's art class here in math today. This is Mr. Roberts. I look forward to seeing your work. Have a good day.